Hello everybody, welcome back. So sorry about the not sticking to the plan and doing a Friday live stream. Took the kids away to see my sister, and so we went to Cambridge of all places. Never been before. Really nice place actually, really nice place. In fact, a very nice place. Since obviously the restrictions have been lifted around here in England to a small extent, So it's time to meet up with the family and that, and yeah. Sometimes, when crypto is on its ass like this, and is essentially, I know it seems like, the end of the world, and I've been saying this, that I really don't feel like there's any need to necessarily panic at all. It's just on its ass for the minute, that's all it is. Sometimes you can just back away from it, because it'll take a little bit of time. In my opinion, it's just going to take a little bit of time for it to reaccumulate, and I really don't see any big deal in that, to be honest. And depending on your, I suppose your situation and how you want to play the market, whether that's dollar cost averaging from, whatever it is that you earn, even just a little bit, $100 a week, $100 a month, or whatever, these are in some way these are the areas to do it at, because nothing's confirmed yet, so you're not going to get the perfect entry, but no one ever does. There's no such thing as the perfect entry nor the perfect exit. What we're looking to do is to take a slice of the price action. So obviously dollar cost averaging into a downtrend is it feels pretty crap, to be honest with you, especially when it keeps going down. When everyone's saying buy the dip, buy the dip. Most people aren't saying buy the dip anymore. Most people are calling for bear market now. So which honestly I'm not saying that it can't happen. It could. It definitely could. But at the end of the day, I honestly don't feel as though the end is nigh. I actually think that what we're looking at now is potentially a really good and interesting part of the market now, where we can reaccumulate almost at this level. I think that what we're doing right now, if you watch my video, this is the basic overview of it, which is that this is the Bitcoin chart on Bitsgap, and it's quite a long one, and this is it on the weekly, and this is the 50 exponential moving average, to which the majority of the time we're above it, because the majority of the time Bitcoin is in an uptrend. So bull market territory all the way above it, and then bear market territory below it for small portions of the overall grand picture. Above it again, bull market territory, bear market beneath it. Bull market territory above it, a little bit of a strange scenario again, because this was bull market territory. It's been a rocky road last year. Last year was a crazy year, but generally the majority of the time spent above it, and we are coming down to it again this week. No big deal for me, to be honest. Really, no big deal. I feel as though what we're looking at here is the ultimate shakeout, to be honest with you, because there's no crystal ball, and I always say this, nobody really knows exactly where it's going. But with the amount of interest in Bitcoin, especially at this level, I suppose Bitcoin was pretty overvalued around the top around here. To be honest, it's coming down to roughly where I would consider its fair price to be for this stage in the market cycle. If we expect it to continue to go up to around about $100,000 or just a little bit beyond, with a conservative estimation, about give or take $100,000, then I would argue that this and maybe a little lower would be its fair value, considering we've got the rest of the year to go. Most of the action is seen to be, and I suppose predicted to be, around the fourth quarter. So we could have a pretty boring summertime, to be honest with you, reaccumulating for a couple of months. And actually, if you think about that, suits me just fine. Summertime is much better spent outdoors with your family and your friends, and having a good time, and sitting around sweating it out over small fluctuations of the price, which is what's likely to take place on a reaccumulation period. Sometimes, and this is why I always prefer the larger time frames like dailies and weeklies. It takes away a lot of that stress and pressure. I don't day trade. I used to do it. It's a pain in the ass. It was just really tedious and boring. So all we're looking to do really now is to confirm at some point, hopefully soon, an actual low, maybe even if it's just a local low, and we can start to see a reaccumulation form. And a reaccumulation is only going to form once moving averages start to calm down a little and level out, and we have not got that. We don't have that. In fact, we've got the opposite of that, really, when they're all basically facing down very steeply here on this daily chart. So again, like I say, I said it on my video this morning. I'm in favour, and we already look like we're going to print it, but I am in favour of a lower candle body breaching, or maybe even just bouncing, but breaching the 33,000, and so long as we don't close a weekly below there, which would be a weekly candle closed below that 50 exponential on the weekly. I think that this is going to perform a decent bounce, like a pretty good one back up to the 200 exponential on the daily, based solely upon the fact that we are slowing down a little bit here. This is the first time we've managed to slow down this downtrend to an extent. Doesn't mean that we can't plummet down to 28,029, where my next buy order is 29,000. Bottom of the Bollinger Band also supports around this zone. After the first stage of this parabolic run, I suppose last year into January, so I'm okay with that, and I actually think that will happen. I think this is what's going to happen now, and I think what will happen is we'll take another leg down, maybe even a steep drop, and then form a nice bounce, and then we will start to flesh out a real range of accumulation, hopefully between 28,000 and 41,000. This will get lower and lower each time, and that will be easier for us to reclaim it, and that's when we can start to talk about uptrends and things. But in a reaccumulation or just an accumulation zone, it's going to be pretty frustrating and boring and tedious, and some of the best ways, in fact the only real way to deal with it, first of all, requires your, I suppose, not so much trust, but faith in the asset that you're trading. Do you want to have a Bitcoin position? If you do, then you buy into an accumulation or a reaccumulation phase. And you're never going to get the perfect entry point. What we're looking to achieve is buying an area, whether it be here, and again, this could break down. If it does break down, it is bear market. It is a bear market at that point. And if that's the case, no big deal. You're holding on to an asset which historically, even in bear markets, spends the smallest amount of time in a downtrend and the largest amount of time in an uptrend. So look, bear market began here, broke down. We spent a small, well, I suppose it's not that small, it's probably about a year or so, but when we finally broke down from it to the point where we broke above it, we were talking a year and a half. No big deal. But then that was back in that cycle. We broke down below it here. Bear market really kicked in at this level, and we broke above it here again. That's just short of a year before the bull market really picked back up again. It'll work out in the end, so long as your trust is in the market. And again, no perfect entry point. The idea is to try and get the better exit point. And I don't think we're looking at a bear market. And even if we did start to close down below here, I mean, in this last cycle we have done that before. We broke up. This is the bull market. We actually did spend what looked like about 5 or 6 weeks below it here after this parabolic run. This was a very, very unnecessary rally here. First coming out the accumulation and then just going crazy. Then we consolidated, broke down below it, and stayed down there. So it's not the be all and end all. So me saying that okay, this represents bull market, it is true. It's definitely a very good moving average to stay above. Certainly doesn't mean we can't come down below it for a little bit of time. So things aren't sort of cut and dry, black and white, plain and simple. It's not really like that, and we all know that by now, especially when we have all this it is FUD. It's crazy FUD, isn't it? Oh, Bitcoin shot my father and killed my mother and took my children and is bad for the environment and this, that and the other. I'm like, oh my god, what are you going to say next? Calm down. The Bitcoin is what it is. It's not changed. It's still the same. And if anything, they're going to go through a period of transition to make it appear, even if it's just appear, but even go a bit more greener. If that's what it takes, that's what it will take. There's money to be made in this. There's money to be made in this green economy that we're heading towards. It's going to go green. It's going to go greener than it already is. And if that's what it takes, there's going to be people out there that are going to make that happen, all right? So it's going to work out, all right? It's going to work out. No one's going to leave Bitcoin to dwindle and die off just because it's not green enough for everybody. So, like I say, if your faith is in the market, your faith is in Bitcoin, then you accumulate at what would be an accumulation period. So I'm not saying that this is definitely it, but it feels to me like it could be the beginnings of it. But there's no accumulation phase started until we start to meander above moving averages and back below them again, and blah blah blah. You've seen it before on all these other charts that we trade. At the moment, we're still clearly in a downtrend, and what we're really looking to find is a bottom. And all we've got to go by is previous price action and significant support. So this red line represents the green 50 exponential moving average on the weekly, 33,000. Below there we have this line here, which represents, well, it basically corresponds to these bounces around here after the first parabolic run. And then below there it would be a bear market, and could come down, nastily. Now, breaking down below here with a wick, like a death wick, like this sort of thing, that doesn't count for me. It's the candle body closures that do count. So just as we saw this wick come all the way down here and another one come all the way down here, it's the closures that count, which is why I'm willing to count this candle body close, if we close down here, as a potential bullish divergence on the RSI if this were to play out. But it's not perfect, it's far from perfect. But if we do print this, I'll be okay with considering a bounce on the next big wick down, especially if we close a candle body around here. We'll have to wait and see. But again, playing this market's going to require a fair amount of faith, especially if you're dollar cost averaging into it. Me personally, I have been dollar cost averaging around this area. On this original drop, some of my buy orders were filled. I do have one more buy order down here, and then I've got a fair portion of tether just in the event of a bear market, which I will keep for an actual accumulation phase at a low level, which probably would be a way off from now. Again, it's all speculative. Let's have a look at the 4 hourly just very briefly, and we'll look at some of the comments. 4 hourly, again, it's there was a glimmer of hope, but it was nothing special. We don't have anything confirmed on here on the itchy cloud or anything like that. What we need to do is break above the cloud with price action, meaning that we have to get above 38,000 to start this potential signal. Which would mean another big push up. And this is a 4 hourly, so it's not going to go, I'm not talking about 25% moves or anything like that. We could get something like that, but we don't have any signals on here yet. What we're looking to see is candle body closure above the cloud, this cloud also being green at the same time, and the Chiku span being above the cloud. That should move up for another. That should give the market, or at least Bitcoin, a nice big move. But again, it's just a bounce. It's just a bounce. We're not going to come out of this in a V-shaped recovery, and I really don't want to see that. If you want to get into a decent position around these zones, that's fine. Run some bots, and this is something that I've been doing anyway. I've got 2 bots that I've kept on throughout the entire downtrend, actually, and I'm going to be adding more bots once an accumulation range is to what I would consider to be confirmed, and it's only going to get confirmed with an actual low. So this could be it, but it might not. We could be going a little lower. Until we get a low, it's going to be very difficult to put bots on with any degree of confidence, because if there's one thing that counts with a bot, is that you need to be confident that it's not going to go lower than your lowest grid. So that is the be all and end all of any bot. That's the starting place for any bot. What's the lowest grid? What's the lowest price it's going to go down to? And until we discover a bottom, we don't really have that information. But I've got a lot of the Bitcoin I've been buying is going to go into these bots. I've been buying a fair amount of Bitcoin around these zones, and once a bottom is decided, bots will be created, and there'll be long-term bots, mostly probably on Pinex, but some will be on Bitsgap. I usually have the larger amounts on Bitsgap than I do on Pinex. Pinex is good for a long-term position, almost like a dual spot trade. Bitsgap is way better for determining a range and making fast bot profit. Pinex is a lot slower, even though you can do, obviously, but you can do exactly the same thing on Pinex. You can do grid bots. I just don't like the way it looks. It's not as easy and user friendly to work. So I think the infinity grid is one of the things that separates Pinex from the others. But what you're really doing there is you're buying 2 assets, you're holding them in a spot trade, and they're kind of going against each other in a much slower and manageable way. So when both assets go up in value, you're not basically holding one way more than the other. They kind of go up similar together, and it kind of works out a lot better in that respect. Anyway, I've rambled already. So let's have a look at some of the things you want me to look at. I'm not hoping that. I know it's. You want me to open the stream to the masses? All right, I might do it then. I'm absolutely knackered because, like I said, I've been in Cambridge with my kids, my sister and her kids, and just completely outnumbered basically. And every morning for the last 3 days, been woken up at 5 o'clock or 5:10 at the latest. And I'm absolutely knackered, so I'm kind of, if I start yawning and slurring my speech in the next half an hour, might be a sign that this live stream, as much as I'm going to try to do it, I'm probably going to be saying all kinds of stuff. And if you hear snoring, just carry on with the rest of your evening. Right. Champions League final. Most people watching footy. Yeah, I appreciate that as well. I do appreciate that. Right, so let's get started then. For those who aren't into the football, Maker and YFI. I'm assuming you want me to look at Bitcoin pairings, and I think that's what we should continue to do. Look at Bitcoin pairings, because overall, I'm not a fan of altcoins yet. There's nothing really to be a fan about. Let's have a quick look over here. So daily coming down to the 200 exponential, being held on it. Okay, fair enough. Let's check that with Bitcoin. Wow. Okay, so this is an interesting one. An incoming golden cross here on the daily for Satoshi pairings, and will take place so long as we stay above. Well, I mean, what is it? You can't even call it Satoshis anymore. It's 1.08 Bitcoin. So that is an interesting looking chart, I have to say. But is it going to do it? That's the question. Is it actually going to do it? Personally, it doesn't look like it's going to hold. But for the moment, so long as we're above the 200 exponential, which is at that level, could be okay. Getting rejected from the 10 exponential. So, that's an interesting looking chart, I have to say. It is an interesting looking chart. I do like it. It's pretty impressive stuff. Is there a trend line that we can form here, or is it basically just the center of the Bollinger Band? I think that is more of a center of a Bollinger Band trend line than any kind of anything else that we can draw in there. And if that's the case, I mean, it's broken down from there. So let's just see how we hold up from here. If we get that golden cross, excellent. Remember, don't play the cross itself. But if the cross happens, it means that there's a strength of coin here, so it'll be stronger than Bitcoin. Interesting. It's not a very old chart, so we can look at the weekly for what it's worth. The weekly still holding up okay, actually, and in fact, it doesn't count, but could have and may even get that conversion baseline cross on the weekly. We're above the 20 weekly as well, so interesting. So yeah, I like the look of it, and I do like the look of it. I'm just a little skeptical, to be honest with you, but if we can print a Bitcoin bottom, then we can focus on things that look like that look actually okay. What was the other one? Maker, wasn't it? You want me to look at? Okay. Hey, so weekly looks okay here. Checking that, it's not too high. Everything seems okay, to be honest. On the weekly, looks alright. So let's bring it down a notch to the daily. So only just broken down again from this last rally from the centre of this Bollinger Band. Holding above the cloud, which is green, above most of the moving averages. We'll have to see how it plays out. It's not as weak as the others, but this is a Bitcoin pairing. So as far as what we're looking at here, yeah, it looks okay. Again, I'm skeptical of all altcoins until Bitcoin has proved itself to form a bottom. Remember what we've been saying about the Bitcoin dominance chart for a very long time now, which is basically, the lower we go, the weaker. Well, not so much the weaker. I mean, this is a show of strength of altcoins versus Bitcoin, but the more vulnerable altcoins can be. So we've already seen, haven't we, just on this since Bitcoin broke down, how dramatic it's been for some of these altcoins. I mean, absolutely wrecked. And it's not like I have been saying it for a long time, and again, I'm holding plenty of altcoins. I mean, the thing is, my overall thing that I try and get across to people is to never be all in and never be all out, okay? Because nobody knows exactly what is going on. And I always make the analogy of it's like going to the bookies, and by using all these technical analysis and trend lines and moving averages, and even just looking at the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is a pretty good indicator for tops and bottoms of rotations. It's, especially never to be all in, never to be all out of Bitcoin or altcoins or Tether, because nobody knows what's going to happen. But when we start to go down further and further and further and further, the chances of not only just a rotation but the weakness of alts will be exploited. And I don't spend much time on Twitter, but when I do go on there, I do see a lot of people saying, especially when this was all playing out, going, the Bitcoin dominance is going to 50, it's below 50, or it's going to 40, it's going to, and then it gets to 30, it gets to 40, and then they say it's going to 25, it's going to go to 10, it's going to go to 5. I mean, hang on a minute, just slow down a second, right? Just chill out, all right? What you've watched these streams for a long time now, and you've seen how cautious I am, because I don't know how long you've been in the market for. And you've been in for long enough, I imagine, to know what Bitcoin can do to altcoins. And I even said it up here. I said, look, let's just be bloody careful, guys, all right? Because if this is it, if this is where we bounce, it doesn't matter what Bitcoin does, if it goes up or down. If we do bounce from here, then altcoins are going to feel the pain. And because we've been having such a good run for such a long period of time, we forgot what it was like back down here when alts were really being absolutely destroyed. Alts were just, it was terrible. It was absolutely awful for altcoins. I mean, some of these things, they were so oversold that they could have basically died, They could have died. Some of these things, like I said, I always bring back Holochain when I talk about these, because Holochain's like a good example of something that blew my mind. But that was trading at less than $500,000 a 24-hour period, and it had gone down to between 1 and 3 sats at one point. They delisted it over Bitcoin pairing because it was so wrecked and basically just not tradable on using Bitcoin. So they got rid of the pairing. Do you know what I mean? And this happened to quite a few altcoins during that period, like BitTorrent token. They got rid of that. Binance were delisting a lot of these against Bitcoin pairings because they were that wrecked that they were trading at, whether it be 1 sat or between 1 and 3 or 5 sats, which is great, for those with the patience to do that. But generally speaking, when something trades below 10 sats, it almost becomes untradeable. You know what I mean? Order books get jammed, and they just delist these things. So we forget about that. We forget about all of that. This here, which looks insignificant, but it destroyed alts. So you can only imagine what would happen if Bitcoin dominance starts to increase here, whether it's because of Bitcoin dumping or Bitcoin pumping. It's just, and I've said it for such a long time now. Every time we come down to a level of support, I go, look, let's be careful, let's hedge into Bitcoin just in case there's hedge into Bitcoin here, hedge in here, and then, hedge in here, I suppose. And eventually, we got it. Not that it helped our portfolio balance overall that much, hedging into Bitcoin, but it definitely helped more than just, piling up with the altcoins, you know what I mean? So, again, it's just like taking a trip to the bookies, and that's all it is. That's all we're doing here. We've just got better odds when we look at these things than other people, and we don't misinterpret what this means. This has been great, but what we should always look at is supports and resistances, and this time round we got it. So my portfolio balance is down, but it's not as down as a lot of people on Twitter's who were buying all these shit coins that had already gone up God knows how many, 10,000, 20,000%, and they were hearing about Bitcoin dominance going down. It's going to go down forever, guys. It's going to go down to 5%. Anyway, I'm rambling again, but you can see what I mean. It's better to try and use your brain, which is what we do here. I know we do. I see epic stuff going on in the Telegram, so people use their brains. So now what I'm doing is thinking about Bitcoin and only Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the only indicator for any altcoins, and we can look at these other charts like we just did there and go, actually both of those seem okay, but it can be misleading. It can definitely be misleading. Nothing is confirmed to me to Bitcoin, and if we are going into an accumulation period or a reaccumulation period for Bitcoin, it's only for Bitcoin. It's not for anything else. We have to look at those charts on themselves. And I remember when this downtrend first started happening, we were looking at some altcoins, and there were some that were still in uptrends against Bitcoin. And then the week after that, we looked at them, and they died. So, again, we're dealing with potentially dangerous stuff with any altcoin. but we'll always look at them because that's where the possibilities of flipping our bitcoins into 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bitcoins, when the time is right. At the moment, I would say regardless of what a chart looks like, an altcoin chart looks like, it's almost irrelevant. I would say it's almost irrelevant at this stage. And there are going to be occasions, and I've just seen one before, just over here. Look, we got one that's popped off big time today. What's this, NMR? That's on Coinbase as well, actually. This is a wrecked chart on Coinbase. I don't know why it's pumping, but it's pumping today. Why is that? I got no idea why that's pumping today, but it is. And like I say, we could look at a chart and go, fair enough, it is what it is. Let's just check this on the daily. But I'd look at this chart. If I was to look at this yesterday, I'd be like, well, there's absolutely no reason that I can see why this would pump today. So things can happen, they can, but let's play it safe. Let's focus on the Big Daddy Bitcoin, and then we can talk about altcoins afterwards. But I suppose what we can look at now is, we could look at levels of where things could get potentially wrecked too. And in my experience, altcoins can get wrecked to such a large extent that it almost defies the imagination. They can, and some will, get so wrecked that they will be completely forgotten about until 6 months down the line, where we get a nice little signal, and then we make those 10x's that everybody's so jealous about, and then they buy on the way up and at the top. And it's like, I know I'm rambling again, but it's like, you always know when something is running its course because people start calling for ridiculous large numbers, like on the Telegram chat, like the main one, things like Holochain had already done a 20 or 25 or 30x, and I'd got out of most of my position, and anyone in their right mind probably would have done as well. But then there's people in there going, Holochain to $1. I mean, I'm not saying it can't go to $1, but let's just respect it's just done a 35x. Same with there's all these sort of things. You got people talking about, even Doji to $1. Why $1? Why $1? It's just a round number that people like. I think because they can look at the amount that they have, and it's easy for them to imagine that it's almost like how winning the lottery. If that gets to $1, I will be a millionaire because I have 1 million of them, and blah blah blah. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's not how to trade anything. Do you know what I mean? You know how I always talk about round numbers. Round numbers, are like it's a psychological aspect of humans. You know what I mean? We like round numbers, and they do work. But to target everything to these specific things like $1, it's pretty novice style thinking when it comes to any kind of crypto stuff. Everybody's always calling for the dollar, the milestone of $1, whether it's Holochain or CNS or whatever. It has to get to $1. Seller has to get to $1. Seller probably could get to $1 in all fairness, but do you know what I mean? Everything has to get to $1. This to $1, everything to $1. It's like ETH to 10,000. Everyone's got to go to ETH to 10,000. Why 10,000? Is it just because it's a very nice number? It doesn't have to get to 10,000. I think you just like the idea that it gets to 10,000 because it's a nice round number. It's just madness. You know what I mean? It's that kind of attitude that'll end up killing you, really, because you're not actually thinking about what's happening. You're just aiming for a flat figure. Right, I've gone off on one again. Let's have a look at some of these things. Let's have a look at seller to BTC. All right, no problem. Again, I would expect seller to probably get a little wrecked, actually, knowing the way that it does work with seller. Right, so let's pump this up a bit. Excuse me. Right, so actually we had a fair old bounce here from the 200 exponential, didn't we? Really good bounce. 100% bounce, already up 65%. So I wouldn't complain about that. Against Bitcoin, it's so far so good. As in, it's above all major moving averages. Definitely doesn't mean that it can't get significantly wrecked. Now, if we think about this is kind of doing one of those. What do you call them? Megaphone. Inverse wedges, or I don't really know what you'd call it. I forget the terminology, which means that we have nice moves up and potentially big moves down, big moves up, big moves down, big moves up, and if I remember rightly, these do favour a downside more than an upside, but this does appear to be the kind of channel that we're working in, and so if I was to ever trade this one at this level, and especially in this with the market being the way that it is right now, I would wait. I would definitely wait for that 200 exponential to get tagged again, or maybe in the bottom of this this descending wedge, or megaphone is what they call them. So yeah, I'm not against it. I like it, and you know me, I like Seller. It's done really well for me. I've grown an emotional attachment to it, and I'll gravitate to it a lot of the time anyway. Harmony 1 seems to be a bit more volatile, but essentially it's the same chart. Both of these follow Matic, and Matic seems to be like a powerhouse of gains. Too volatile for me, actually. Matic now, too volatile. I sold all my Matic; it's all gone now. But Cello is like the nice, you know, it's like, you know, you've got like 3 siblings. You've got the crazy older one, you know, you've got the firecracker younger one, you've got the one in the middle who's a bit more level-headed, and that would be Seller, and that's why I like it. But for the moment, yeah, it doesn't matter. It's going to follow the market. If the market takes another significant downside, especially with altcoins, then yeah, I would target down here for a more significant move up. But yeah, I mean, as far as the chart is concerned, it's actually okay. I'm just remembering what happened at the beginning of this downtrend that happened with Bitcoin. And some of these looked okay. We'd look at this and go, well, this is a formation, it's working okay. But actually, when it comes down to it, we have to recognize that, you know, its trading volume is not that big, which means it wouldn't take a great deal many of these Bitcoins, this trading volume, to just hop over into Bitcoin if Bitcoin starts to become the more dominant asset again, dictated by the fact that Bitcoin dominance has got, you know, quite a large area to reclaim if it needed to. Those you know, that money's going to come from somewhere. It wouldn't take long for people to recognize that actually Bitcoin is the trend. A couple of days worth of Bitcoin going up and altcoins going down, everyone's going to jump ship. Everybody's going to jump ship, especially when crypto Twitter gets on it and all those really popular YouTubers start talking about it. That's what's going to happen. People are going to go, right, okay, I'm just going to jump ship, go into it, and it wouldn't take much for this to just suddenly go down. And obviously, if people aren't trading, if people are coming out of Seller into Bitcoin, it's like a double whammy, isn't it? Bitcoin goes up twice the speed of altcoins, and altcoins go down twice the speed, even more. So it's just an accentuated, rapid decline in Satoshi value. So I'm not saying that this is a bad chart. It's looking okay as far as this. We've got a relatively decent fix on it, but if we were to trade it, even from the price where we're at right now, it's a 42% drop just to the safest level of support. And then from there, you know, if it worked out okay, it would be, and this is just where it is right now, it would be a fair old bounce. You know, we're talking 80% or more. I like it, but I don't like it here. Definitely worth keeping my eye on it, though. I do like keeping my eye on it. This is what I'm saying. Yeah, altcoins, there will come a point where there'll be very obvious entry points for these sort of things. But for the moment, it's all about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the one that's doing this to everything. But Seller is always going to be in my line of sights. Let's have a look at this. I can't say I've ever looked at this, to be honest. I know people talk about it a lot. So the chart again is on the dailies, clearly massively uptrend again above all major moving averages. A bit wicky at the top here, suggesting that actually whatever happened these last 2 days might have been a bit too hot to handle. And again, I don't want this to be misleading. When we look at this, we go, that's a nice chart, and it is. It's actually very nice looking chart, I have to say. Do we have any particular signals of interest on this? Kind of a conversion baseline Ichimoku Cloud buy signal, actually. Let's check the weekly. Weekly strong as well. Let's see if it's overheated. Not even overheated. What's the trading volume on this baby? Twice that of Seller. It's a fair old chart, do you know what I mean? But towards the top of the Bollinger Band is a no-go zone. The wick tells the story that that's too much, can't handle that right now. Where have we often found a decent level of support? Be the 50 exponential moving average. And if we can hold out for another couple of, maybe a week or so at this kind of trajectory, would be above the cloud at a support. I think good things come to those who wait, really. And again, this is T-Fuel to BTC. All you really need to do to trade this is have Bitcoin. So if we're focusing on Bitcoin, accumulating that Bitcoin, then we can hop into this when the time is right, even if it's just for a couple of days worth of trading action, which might be all it takes. Come down to here, nice bounce here, too hot to handle outside the Bollinger Band, back down, nice big bounce all the way up, too hot to handle, potentially all the way back down. And my entry point, if anything, would be if we get a candle body closure above the green 50, then we could hold this what would look like potentially for a week or so, and stack on some of those sats probably quite significantly. Let's just measure that out. If we were to reclaim, come back down here just at the top of the Bollinger Band, 29%. So that's 29% more Bitcoin from a simple trade that might only take less than a week. I'm alright with that. I'm okay with that. So this is what I'm talking about. We don't want to be thinking about Bitcoin. We don't want to be thinking about altcoins particularly right now, even in things like this where they look like there is a strong chart. If we break down to what I think could happen, and it might not happen. Again, I'm looking for a bounce on Bitcoin anyway, just even in the short term, but a sideways trading around here. This would be my preference. 29,000, 28,000, 29,000, and basically the 40,000 kind of area. But we are downtrending, so let's bear that in mind. We are downtrending, and with the Bitcoin dominance looking the way it is, and I know I keep repeating myself, I think jumping into altcoins willy-nilly is I think it's a bit it's not for me right now. Not for me. Definitely not for me, because I've seen it all before. Altcoins can just die, and they can go uncomfortably low to the point where you just wish that you'd just bought Bitcoin, which is why I'm always saying, think about this next trading, this next period of trading, this next part of the market of just building up a Bitcoin position, and if altcoins start to go into rallies or they pick up significant strength and Bitcoin doesn't look weak anymore, then we hop over into altcoins. But for now, it's about protecting, first of all, whatever it's that you have, whether it's in Tether or fiat currencies, or just Bitcoin, and build upon your Bitcoin balance and think about everything in the terms of how much Bitcoin you own, because that is the balance that's going to count in the long run when we flip it into altcoins when the time is right. What we're looking at there, even with that chart, which looked quite strong for what it's worth, it looked pretty good. Doesn't mean that it can't drop off. It can drop off. And in a way, when we think about things with Bitcoin pairings, these downtrends or these drops are deceptive. Let's just say that Bitcoin dropped 10% and altcoins obviously went down with it, and then this chart went down to the green 50 exponential. So Bitcoin went down 10% and this goes down 20% against Bitcoin, meaning that if you would have held onto Bitcoin, you'd be down 10%, but if you'd bought this, you'd actually be down not 19 or 20%, you'd be down 30%, because you're talking about a chart which is measured against an asset which is also down 10%. So you add that 10% to the 20%, you're down 30%, when you could have only been down 10%. And then if you want to play the bounce, then you go back into one of these altcoins that will get the bigger bounce. And again, a chart like this would suggest that you get a bigger bounce if Bitcoin has proved itself to have a bottom. So the idea is hold Bitcoin for the moment. And I know it's boring, but Bitcoin is going to be the base to what you're going to build upon. Does that make sense? So yeah, you're not going to lose 20%. You'll lose 20% against your Bitcoin balance. You'll lose 30% against your Tether or your dollars, pounds, whatever it is. Right. NKN. I've never heard of this before. Let's have a look. Right, interesting looking chart here. So super mega pump and super mega consolidation. Right. So first of all, something that's done that is likely to want to be left alone. To be honest, 61% down. Again, remember this is 61% down against Bitcoin, which means that it's going to be way more down for the people who had it up here versus your pounds, dollars, or whatever. It's in a consolidation phase. This is what it's doing. It is consolidating. I wouldn't feel comfortable buying this one. I know that consolidations end in accumulations and then overall pumps, but there's no signal here. The grey, not the grey cloud. this is my tiredness kicking in. The red cloud's just getting fatter and thicker and thicker and fatter. I'm not a fan of that one. Let's have a look on the weekly. So the weekly, again, you know, for what it's worth, this itchy cloud doesn't really make any sense because we pumped so massively in a space of 1 week. What's that weekly candle? A weekly candle of 400%. I suppose we've seen that in other assets, but it's not very common. And then, you know, the wick tells everything we need to know. You know, these people all got instantly wrecked, and since been, you know, continued to get wrecked. This could go down a lot further, in my opinion. It could. What's the trading volume on this thing? Pretty small now. It's pretty small. We've got to remember that bitcoins aren't worth as much as they used to be. So yes, it's not a great deal of money there. It wouldn't take much for this to continue to go down further. And there's no specific signals on this. This one looks like it's going to consolidate further and further and further. We could lose another 50% on this one. I think. What would that be? Yeah, that is 50%. We could see that. Yeah. So I wouldn't touch this one. But again, you know, things pop. And you know, I'm not saying that it can't move. I'm just saying that based on the way that I would look at that chart, I'm not going to buy anything that's in a consolidation against Bitcoin, to which I believe is still in a continued downtrend. So yeah, you'd be asking for trouble. What was that? HNT. Right. 17% down against Bitcoin today. Alright, so I see what's going on here. So some things have been moving, and we want to know if they are going to continue to move. Well, looking at this, remember the wicks tell the story. Initially the wick of 16% couldn't take it, already down 30% in a 24-hour period. So we must have looked at this before, saying, all right, there was a resistance zone here. So that's clearly what's happened here. We couldn't break above this resistance. We finally broke above it, and we went absolutely to town. There could have been some news event happen. There could have been. So what I would say is, I would expect this one to maybe come down to between the 10 exponential and maybe retest this level of what was a resistance. See if we could flip it as support. Maybe you can make a quick scalp on that one. I wouldn't expect this one to. You know, to have a continued uptrend or anything like that, not given the situation in the market right now, and the fact that we're retracing significantly in such a small space of time at the moment. So, but yeah, I mean, that would be an alright area to try attack. If we break down below there again, then it's going to be the center of this Bollinger Band. So this is all a very significant retrace from the top. If we're thinking about it, this is a 46% retracement in Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin goes down 10% from here and this comes down 46%, then you add the 10%. It's a lot for the people who bought at the top, and somebody did do that. Otherwise, there wouldn't be a wick there. You know, there's going to be a lot of people who did do that. So remember that when you see wicks, that's what it is. It's people getting wrecked and continuing to be wrecked. But yeah, I would be looking to see if we can flip 4,000 sats and turn that to a level of support. But again, something like this, yeah, I'm still skeptical about it. Let's check the weekly. Again, still high on the weekly when it comes to the Bollinger Band. So, and where's this down to here? 3,000 sats there, 7 exponential, 3,000. Yeah. So I mean, again, you can try it for a quick scalpy bounce just to increase and stack those sats. It's a risky trade, but one that's based upon something tangible. Ethereum to Bitcoin, right? Will it come down to the middle of the Bollinger Band? Well, let's have a look. There's no exact science to any of this, as you've all more than aware of, with all this manipulation that's been taking place recently. You know, it almost voids this in a way, doesn't it? It almost voids the way that TA works in a way. I mean, it's still relevant to an extent, but yeah. So that for some reason my epic trend line keeps disappearing, but there it is. That's T8 at its finest, and this was the signal to get in at. That's where we got in at. So it's an aggressive uptrend this time. So to expect it to come down here anytime soon is unlikely. If we think about the way it's done it in the past, how long has it taken from the blow off top down to the bottom? 111 days in this instance. And again, when we're talking about this market specifically, there's no exact science to it. That was only 51 days from that, and so far we are looking at a weekly. We're 2 weeks in so far. So 50 days would look like that. That's quite a lot to ask. 111 days would look a bit more like that. It's still a lot to ask, but it's I'm not saying it's unlikely. It's very hard for me to give you any kind of exact science on it. What I would say is treat this one at this moment as the uptrend that it's in, which is very, very bullish and aggressive, which means that there's going to be trades taking place on it, and you can even see this top here came back down. It didn't even touch this 7 simple moving average, which is always for me the most bullish trend line to not trend line but moving average to tag. So we didn't even tag that. So there's still a lot of interest in Ethereum, and I think with Ethereum being so popular, it's like I don't know how many of you are from the UK, but it's like, back in the olden days, when I was in school, everyone was wanting to have. It was all about Nike trainers and Reebok trainers, and high tech was like the lower end. No one wanted it, but now apparently that's the cool thing to wear. You get people wearing high tech trainers, and the reason I'm saying that stupid analogy is that people want this now, more than Bitcoin. So it's not just a altcoin that trades and has has been popular and goes in and out of fashion. It's very fashionable still at the moment. People still want it, and so that will keep it afloat. It's not just an altcoin. I mean, it is an altcoin, but it is the top altcoin by far, and it's almost half the market cap of Bitcoin, which is pretty impressive stuff. So we can think about this separately to the altcoin market as a whole, and look at it, I suppose, as an asset to be traded upon its chart. And we have had a significant opportunity to buy these lower levels of support, but this is before it became as popular as it is now, and it is very popular. So we'll look at this and treat this on its chart alone. But we'll still give it the, we'll look at it with a large degree of caution. But we can try and get in at these moving averages. 10 exponential, 54,000, almost 55,000 sats. If it were to happen, this week, and so on and so on and so on. If we think about it on the daily, so you wanted to know if it came. I suppose you must have been talking about the weekly then. Bollinger Band on the weekly. So I mean that's quite a fair drop, isn't it? To be honest with you, let's measure that out. How big is that drop? Actually, it's not that big. It's not that big. So there is that chance. I suppose this chart is quite deceptive in the way that it looks. And that would be a 51%. Look, it could. It depends on your style of trading. If you want to have an easy life, then you would hold off and wait to see if it does continue with this style, with this fix that we've had for so long. But this fix has only been relevant for a year and a half, and things change. This could be starting a new form of fix, and this won't be relevant anymore. You could even, I suppose, think about it like this, which is a fine mess. See if we can get a bit more into it. It's a bit messy, but I suppose we could look at the chart like that. And if that's the case, then maybe this upper end of what was resistance could end up being the new level of support, because those sort of things happen. Do you know what I mean? That is a possibility. And if that's the case, then great. But it's going to take weeks for that to play out for us to see that and see if that's confirmed and holds. And if it does, then brilliant. Then we've got a new uptrend of support where we could see if this actually now becomes the new bottom level. I'm not really expecting it to come all the way down here again, given the fact that this is now the new high-tech trainer, or Puma. Everyone wants a bit of Puma trainers these days. Like I say, it's become fashionable again. And that is enough for it to change its previous behaviour into something new. So we'll look at it with fresh eyes, and we'll have to wait and see how it plays out. But I'm not particularly bearish on it. No, I treat it very differently to everything else. Right, let's have a look at. Hello mate, no request, just sitting in BTC, hope you're well and enjoying your holiday. Yeah, well the holiday's over, and to be honest, when you got 2 kids and then you meet up with more kids, and it's like it's like refereeing a cage fight, to be honest with you. It's not very relaxing. So yeah, the holiday's over, and I feel like I need a holiday after the holiday, to be honest. But yeah, your strategy, holding on to your BTC, that's my main strategy. That's what I'm looking to do right now. I don't really see any opportunities right now to try and be clever like we were before. If all I'm focusing on is, all right, I've got X amount of Bitcoin, and if whether that goes up or down or sideways, fair enough. I've got skin in the game, quite a significant amount of it. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is not going to go anywhere, despite the attempts to destroy its reputation. Don't think it's going to go anywhere. And when the time comes, and what I really want to see, even though I'm still holding on to quite a lot of altcoins, is for altcoins to get wrecked. I want that. I want them to get wrecked. I want them to get completely wrecked, oversold, like they did before, because it's then that we just go, right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's double or triple or whatever it is the amount of Bitcoin that I've got, because the opportunity is ripe. The fruit is ripe for picking. It's not ripe right now. No one likes a tart plum, do they? So yeah, that's what you'll be doing now. You'll be picking unripe fruit from the tree, and you could eat it, but it's not going to be very nice. And yeah. Anyway, there's another analogy for you there. Excuse me. BNB to Ethereum, crazy stuff. But I suppose on the last stream, I remember we were thinking about doing BNB pairs, weren't we? Because where is that? I don't see it. Does it not exist? BNB to Ethereum, right, there we go. Right, okay. So the weekly looks like it's finding its rejection from the centre of that Bollinger Band, which isn't good. It's not good, but again, it's very early to say. Daily's holding on to dear life for the 200 exponential, which again is pretty touch and go, and we've got these moving averages. They're going to squash us into this zone here, which could lead to a breakdown. We've got this big red cloud, not looking particularly nice. But MACD's turning up. RSI, so okay, it's not a chart for me to really be confident about, to be honest. Can't really give you any clues on that one. Jeez, Ethereum's wrecked today. I suppose a lot of altcoins are wrecked, but Ethereum is wrecked today. Right, so a glimmer of hope appearing over here, but we should never trade within a cloud. So we're talking about a 4-hourly here, so this is only very small term time frame stuff. So what we'd look for here is for us to for the price to reach above the cloud, close above the cloud, and also this Chiku span to close above the cloud. And if that was to happen, especially with the Chiku span being here, we're gonna have to make a move of about 10% for that to give us a buy signal from then. So that's what I'd be looking for on the 4-hourly, to see if we can get a 10% move on this one, to the point where the Chiku span, the price, are both above the cloud, with the green aspect of it being here. And I'll probably expect a move to take us up to the 200 exponential. So where were we? So if we get up to here, this is here. So we're thinking about here. So that's only another 8% move. So I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, look at it. It's pretty weak. It's weak stuff. We could be looking for a relief bounce on this one, but overall, I think that's all it's likely to be. It's holding on to dear life. When we see things coming down to the 200 exponential, we normally expect to see a decent bounce. So you might get that bounce. So if we're thinking about, like I say, it's a no trade zone in the cloud on that 4-hourly. So you shouldn't really be looking to make a trade in there, because there's no signal. Remember, the best thing to do is to trade signals. At the moment, the best you can ask for is like a knife catching bounce, based upon the fact that we're resting upon this 200 exponential. We hope that we'll catch a bounce from it. We've been on it for a few days really, and we've not really seen much. A very weak, I suppose, uptrend from an oversold position. It's not done anything spectacular, and even on the weekly, it got rejected from the center of this Bollinger Band. So it's not really a tradable chart to start with, and the signal itself will only kick in after a 10% move, and then only yield a potential 8% move after that. So if you wanted to try to catch this knife, you'd catch it now, and you'd hope that you move up to a 17.5% move. So you know, is that worth the amount of risk that could potentially kick in after this breaks down from here? Nah, we've been downtrending for a long time on this one now, and yeah, unless you're trying to catch a knife on it, I wouldn't bother. But again, you know, that's what it is. Open the stream to the masses. It's up to you guys. If you want me to do that, I'll do that. You guys all leave your comments in here now. I can open it up. I'll open it up to them if you like. How do I do that? How do I open this stuff up? This just been my internet being stupid again. Where's the option? I think it's just being stupid. It's not letting me change it. It's been going for 55 minutes already. Oh, come on. One last try. Hey up. There we go. Right. Okay, we're in. We'll open it up then, shall we? We'll open it up. See what people think. Right. Okay. So that's that one. That's that look for you. So again, you know, I'm not a fan of it, to be honest with you. You'd be looking for a bounce, and that'd all be. That's the only thing you'd be looking for, and it's not the greatest bounce if you were to get it. The risk to reward would be too much, too much for me to do. But there's, you know, at the end of the day, what you're going to end up with, either, you know, like a load of BNB or a load of Ethereum, if it depends if you're looking to bot trade it or whatever. Both of them will probably work out okay in the long run. They're both super top cap coins at this level, but yeah, I mean the chart itself, I just don't fancy that at all. Right, I'll tell you what, now that it's open to the public, guys, give it some likes. Let's make me seem more popular than I really am. And again, like you say, most people will be watching the football. I'm not the biggest fan, to be honest, of football. I mildly support Leeds, but I'm not a massive fan of football. Right, if you can please do T on Matic and FET. All right, that's fine. I don't think there's much to write home about with FET right now. Let's have a look at Matic. I'm very interested. Again, we're going to go for Bitcoin pairings because that's where the key is. So yeah, I mean it's holding up okay, I have to say. You know, considering how far it went, and look, this is you should never enter anything in, and always be trying to exit the vast majority of any position when you reach 90. Well, I always say 94, but you know we can see that in you know 94, 95, 96. Some of these things go up to 99. On the money flow index, but for me, yeah, 94 to 96 is pretty much you get a majority out of your asset. I think given what we're looking at here is we've got our high, we've got a lower high here, a massive super bounce here, and I think we're probably going to start coming back down again. I think the destination for Matic will be this centre of this Bollinger Band here, being at 3,852 sats. God, you know, I bought this when it was double-digit sats. Could you imagine? Can you imagine that? And again, this has been a long, painful journey. One of the this was trading Matic was pretty much part of the foundation of this channel. It's when I started getting back into to altcoins again, and it was it's been a massive part of my channel back in the day. But yeah, I've just ignored it since all this entire rally. What's there to say? I don't like talking about things when they're going up massively because everybody's doing it. I don't want to do that. I talk about things when they're unpopular and nobody watches them. Right, so yeah, that's what I would expect. Given what we're looking at here, yeah, it's been a phenomenal bounce, and now we're probably going to come back down to around about 3,800 sats. And that might sound disappointing, but it doesn't mean that we can't sort of bounce and reaccumulate at a higher level. But we can't ignore the fact that that's we bounced, but we didn't bounce to even come to the to close higher than we were previously. Matic's, I think Matic's definitely on the map now, and I bet the trading volume's high on this one. Yeah, it's massive, absolutely massive. So, but be prepared for further downside on this one, and be prepared for some decent bounces on this one. But I think the chart's had its day, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if this breaks down eventually as well. And this is the sort of thing I'm talking about now. When people see charts like this and they hear about things like Matic being so super fantastic and amazing and unstoppable and solving all the problems in the world and you know just you know it's still an altcoin, and you know, this in itself has shown us that this was a great bounce, but it's shown us that the Bitcoin has outperformed it these last 3 days, 4 days really, since this top here. So that's what this means, and this is why I'm saying Bitcoin is your safety area. Even if Bitcoin goes down, you're safer in Bitcoin than you are in these altcoins, despite these charts looking like this. Because I know Matic, trust me, I know Matic, and Matic, as hard as it moves up, it can move down pretty hard. Let's have a look at this, for instance. This again is against Bitcoin, 64% drop against Bitcoin. So that means whatever Bitcoin drops during that period, 20% or more, probably more. You add that to that loss. And yeah, we did have a bounce, a super bounce, but I mean, let's think about that. You know, Matic probably retraced close to 70 or 80% at that point. So I don't really know exactly, but you can see what I mean. This isn't just your average chart. This is against Bitcoin. So any downtrend here means that you'd be better off in Bitcoin. So just bear all that in mind. But yeah, I mean, the chart looks okay, probably for another bounce around here. Standard stuff, really, pretty standard stuff. And FET, right. Let's have a look. For the record, I hold some FET still. I still hold FET. So FET looking pretty sad and weak and pretty awful, I have to say, down here. And you know, we have to recognise the way that FET has moved in the past. This last run, this is what attracted me to FET this time round. You know, this is Bitcoin, but we were trading it on Tether before. But yeah, I mean, this is what attracted me to it. I was like, that was good. I'll wait for the next signal to give me something like this again, and we got it, and we more or less got out around about 1,200 sats, mostly, give or take, between 1,200 sats. But since then, it's been a classic example of history repeating itself, and I expect it to repeat itself, unless, of course, something amazing happens with FET. You know, they make a partnership with, I don't know, Microsoft, like people seem to think is going to happen. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but the chart isn't saying buy me. The chart is saying, oh God, oh my God. And this has been pretty volatile. If we think about these moves, 71% from the bottom to the top, just in the last week or so. Even this is a 70% move, so it does move. It can move, and any day that we're above a 200 exponential is a good day. Being below there and being rejected from below there is scary stuff, especially when we see, like I say, history repeats itself. I wanted a piece of the pie, and we got a piece of the pie, and the reason we got out was because this was a signal that gave us the entry here. There was a signal down here that gave us the entry here, and it told us to get out as well, which is the important thing. Now, if you have a look, there is a bit of a slice that you can make there. Let's turn these dramatic red lines are a bit too overwhelming for me, given what the market looks like right now. But yeah, I mean, this is your resistance, and it is more or less that 1,200 sat area. It's a long way away from where we are right now. And it would take something special to happen to it. It's not saying on the chart here on the daily that anything of any significance is happening. In fact, we've got a short signal here. So yeah, we've got a bounce, but overall the direction is probably still going to be down on this one. Let's check the weekly for what it's worth. So the weekly could be okay and it's not going to be okay for a little while, I would say, actually. So we've got a green portion here. We're below the cloud here, and the Chiku span is in the cloud here. So when is this going to have some power? We'll just measure this out here. That Chiku span at this current price, a month, a couple of months. We've got a couple of months before we're likely to get any kind of buy signal on this one on the weekly, which could be significant and maybe reach previous, our previous not all-time high, but our previous high from over here. I'm not looking for anything significant on this one for a couple of weeks, a couple of months really, and that I would probably imagine goes to show you what I'm expecting for the market and why I think Bitcoin is the safer place to be right now. We wait for these signals. We've not got these signals, but yeah, that would be a signal. Closing above here on a weekly, above 871 sats on the weekly with the candle body. But the problem is this Chiku span is not going to get above. We need this candle. sorry, we need to get this Chiku span out of this cloud, which isn't going to really happen for a couple of months. When that does happen, then we'll be getting ready for another buy signal on a weekly, which could be a really decent move, and I'll be all up for going back into to FET quite hard at that point. Again, we trade signals, not expectations. Yeah, got no alts worth looking at. They're all wrecked. Yeah, and like I say, you'll get the older one, like that that one that we saw here. It's just up 44% for no reason whatsoever. You'll get that, but this isn't the alt season that has previously been. This is winter has come. Winter's come for the alts, and I think it will remain, generally speaking. And even when we see strong charts, I think they're deceptive until Bitcoin puts a bottom in, like a clear bottom. Any altcoin chart will be deceptive, because Bitcoin will bring them down. It will bring them down hard if Bitcoin continues to go down. It will bring them down. So we need to establish a bottom on Bitcoin, which would establish a bottom on the market, and then we can think about alts. But we should take everything we see with a pinch of salt. We had a pretty good week on alts, with good charts, 100% gain at least in the short term. Can't we trust Bitcoin sideways, giving alts a bit of a boost? Maybe. But remember, my overview is that that would lend itself to the idea that alts would go up if Bitcoin goes sideways. Yeah. But what we'd want to see is we'd want to see this continue to go down, whereas at the moment what we're seeing is this is a weekly, so I suppose it's kind of deceptive. But we're seeing what is an uptrend beginning here, and if we start to reclaim some of these moving averages and just continue to make higher highs and higher lows on this Bitcoin dominance chart, that will tell us all we kind of really need to know about the strength of alts versus Bitcoin. So again, there's no crystal ball, and yeah, sideways action for Bitcoin does often lend itself to decent moves with alts. But with Bitcoin going sideways, that would also imply, in my opinion, reaccumulation for Bitcoin, which means that Bitcoin can just pop at any moment during its sideways movement, and it could also drop at any moment if it's accumulating in a sideways action rather than being bullish and sideways, cooling off while being bullish. It's not. What it's doing is it's still in a downtrend. We'll have a look. It's still in a downtrend. So if we went sideways at this low level, we're still below all these moving averages, which means that sideways could easily just break down rather than go up. It's not sideways bullish, it's sideways bearish. Which means that, alright, we have to think of the market as sideways and bearish. So you might get days where alts rally massively, and like we've already seen, but it means that all those gains could be wiped out instantly if Bitcoin breaks down from its sideways movement. So it's not the same as when Bitcoin was going, I suppose, well, any of these areas or any area from around here, Bitcoin goes sideways and down, or just it's not the same as this was sideways, or this was, well, I suppose this was sideways. Alts was still going up all the way up until here, so we can go sideways here and then break down again. Alts will get absolutely wrecked. So I would agree with you, but I would be super cautious, absolutely super cautious. KSM. Sorry, I missed that. I do that. That's my dyslexia. Sorry about that. I just skip stuff. Again, we're only going to care about Bitcoin pairings. Right. So again, it's another one that's technically had been in a slow and steady uptrend, and then blew its top off and got wrecked, and now is below all major moving averages, heading our way down to this 200 exponential, where I would expect us to go. Red portion of the cloud here, cross here, Chiku spans in the price action. No signals on here to suggest strength versus Bitcoin. That's the daily. Check the 4-hourly. Death cross. I don't fancy it. I think this one's going to come further down. I think its destination for its next bounce will be between 6,000 and 5,500 sats. Basically Bollinger Band and 200 exponential. I think it's inevitable that will happen. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. Would you mind looking at Theta to BNB? Yeah. So I'm thinking people are looking at, is this for bots? Are you thinking about bots here? So if you are thinking about bots, this is it's a sideways and down move, isn't it? Rejection here on the 200 exponential, which is below us, death cross as well. So I'm not a big fan of it. There's nothing about this to suggest bullish movement, but it doesn't speak like it's going to make a big move at all. It looks like it's a bit of a reaccumulation down at a lower level. So we're above the center of the Bollinger Band, so the lows may have already been in. Let's have a look on the smaller term time frames. If it's something that you're looking to do for bots, then just let me know. That's different. So yeah, reaccumulation, as you can see here on the 4 hourly as well. So snaking up and down and up and down and up and down, below all and above all moving averages. Not really giving any kind of edge, even though we are in an uptrend. It's not really giving any kind of edge, I'm afraid. So it's unclear. And if it is a bot that you're looking to trade, then accumulations can be good, because they have up and down in a specific range. So if that's what you're looking to think about trading, 52% range is a tight range that you could play there, and it would work until it doesn't. Do you know what I mean? So if it breaks down, obviously you get stuck with what do you get stuck with? Theta. If it breaks out, you get stuck, or you're stacking your BNB anyway. So yeah, I mean, a bot would be appropriate. It would be a short-term bot that you might want to think about even having a stop loss in, given the nature of the market. And I wouldn't normally have stop losses in on bots, but given what the overview of what we're talking about here, with the market being the way that it is, you might want to have a stop loss on the bot at the lowest grid. Just to save yourself some actual pain, because you don't know you don't know if Theta is going to tank, or if BNB is going to just rally, which would wreck the chart here. But yeah, I mean, it looks like an accumulation period, definitely, which lends itself to sideways volatile action, which would be a good bot if you're looking to stack BNB. What was that? Where were we? How does the Pinex Infinity Grid bot work? It always keeps some funds available that you can run out of available funds to keep making buys. Just wondering how it could if something keeps going down. Well, I'm not absolutely 100% on how it does work, but you only have one lower grid, and all you ask the bot to do at that point is just treat that as a lower level of support. So actually I've got Pinex up, I've got one bot still running now, which I've just left on through just pure laziness, and I'll show you. So I've set this bot up 22 days ago. Since then the market has just completely destroyed both Bitcoin and YFI too. But I'm still up on this bot, which is pretty impressive stuff. So the only thing that this bot ever really cared about was, so long as I don't go below that level here, the bot will continue to make grid profit in the form of Pinex. That's what it's called. And I've no reason to close the bot down. It's still doing its thing. It's much slower than it would be on a normal grid bot, because the range is an infinity range, so it makes buys and sells. I think, let's have a look. How did I set this on? What's the settings on this one? Can't remember how to look at the actual details of it, but I probably would have had it set at 1%. So every 1% move and every 1% up or down, there's a buy or sell take place, provided it's above that lower limit, which it is, and the bot's still doing its thing. But because it's not tight grids, I'm not getting the bot profit that you've seen me make on other grids, because the beauty of having for that example we were talking about just then, if we had a tight range, it means that I put my entire investment in a smaller range that gets played from top to bottom, and you make way more back in the form of bot profit or grid profit. That's why grid bots are better than infinity bots. But if you wanted to, I suppose, have an advanced HODL, which is what I see the infinity bots are. I want to have YFI too, and I want to have Bitcoin, and I can have them trade against each other passively throughout a long period of time, and if I feel as though I'm confident that there is a low range that was not going to get tagged again, then I'll set an infinity bot up and I'll just leave it to it. And like I say, I've left this one on because it's so far so good. But yeah, it's because there's no grid in there as such. It just trades passively small fractions of it every time there's a 1% change. It's much slower, but again, this one's been on throughout the entire downtrend and is still in profit. So I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain with it, but treat it as an advanced hodl. So yeah, despite downtrending and wrecking both of these assets, my overall investment is still up ever so slightly, just short of 10%, just short of 9%. But I don't know the ins and outs of the intricate ways of how it works. I just know that it's slower performing because of the way that the grids work. Which is that they technically don't have grids; they just have a support range that you need to be above. So I can't really answer your question, but I thought I might as well show you that example that it does work out. But the only thing you really have to care about is do you want to hold both of those assets? And if you do, then do it. And are you confident that you've got in at the bottom when you started it, or that your lowest grid, or the only grid that you care about, is not going to get tagged again? And you'll work out okay, but it's not going to be as fast. It's not going to be fast profit like you would see on a normal grid bot or something you do on Bitsgap, basically. And better entries on alts instead of missing them by being in BT first. I wonder if it's. I'm not really sure. I think it's my tiredness. I'm not really understanding what you're saying. Look, for me, it's all about trading with caution, right? So I know that there's opportunities out there where you can trade, you can be in an altcoin and it can go up 40%, like what we saw with that outlying one here. Yeah, so we've seen this. This is up 50% now, right? So I know that these will happen, but I'm not prepared to jump the gun and deviate from my plan. I've got a very specific plan. And this is what I'm not here to tell you to do what I do. My plan is very much my plan, and it's a long-term plan. And my plan at this point now is we've had the plan before was to go into altcoins in January, and play it for what it was worth. And it would appear to me now that plan isn't as relevant or even relevant at all like it used to be. So it's time to make a new plan. And the plan for me starts with Bitcoin and owning as much Bitcoin as I can, and then turning those Bitcoins into multiple Bitcoins throughout the rest of the year when altcoins give us the signals that we look for. So of course we will see stuff bouncing, we'll see stuff outperforming Bitcoin left, right and centre. We'll always see that, and that's why we like altcoins. But until I get a fix on something, and again, TA is about trading signals and strength. And you can catch bounces, you can trade bots, you can do all other kind of things in between. But personally, I'm looking for the easiest, safest, and way to crush the market. And for me, it's gonna, for the moment, because Bitcoin is dominating the downtrend of everything, and I've seen what happens to altcoins, over the last few years when this sort of thing does happen. Altcoins can go so low that it's depressing, and I do not want to get stuck in any altcoins. I want to be holding on to my Bitcoin for now, and then I want to trade those Bitcoins into altcoins, hopefully when altcoins are at an absolute low. When they are so low that people just, people are calling them scams. Do you know what I mean? It's a scam. They're going to the AMAs of these blockchain companies, and all they're asking for is refunds. That's when I want to get into altcoins. I don't want to get into them now, which would be, like I say, potentially quite dangerous. But of course there's going to be some epic bounces along the way, and there'll be some epic uptrends along the way. But generally as a whole, my strategy is going to start now with Bitcoin, and then hopefully whatever Bitcoin that I own now, the X amount that I've got, will be 10 times that when the time comes. It's a simple strategy, and it's the strategy that should always be played. It's the strategy that I've been playing this entire time, for a couple of years now. We look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. Where is it? It's over here. So I've shown you this before. This was the channel that we were able to trade before. before Bitcoin broke out. And I said it right from the beginning. Once we got this channel, I said, look, downwards channels like this, they break to the up. So I was always expecting it to break to the up at some point. You get into altcoins here. Okay, we look like we found a bottom. Okay, get into your Bitcoin. Okay, we're up to the top of the channel. Get into altcoins. Okay, we've hit the bottom of the channel here. Let's get into Bitcoin again. Let's get into altcoins here. Okay, we're bouncing. Let's get back into Bitcoin. All right, let's get into altcoins. And now we've broken us so far down that if we do reverse from here, altcoins potentially do and will get so wrecked, maybe the most wrecked they've ever been. Some of these altcoins, these things that have done 10-20,000% moves, you know, these super shit coins that were going to change the world, and they will get so wrecked that people will just call them scams, and they'll have nothing but hate form against them, and they'll end up trading with such small volume that that's when you start to scale into them, when the time is right. But the time isn't right for me right now, and the time will be right again at some point. Like I say, it's a simple strategy, and but at the moment, if this does go up like this, it's hard to perceive it right now when we see some of these altcoins, you know, like what we saw with Matic, where we see something that looks invincible. We see it and we're like, wow, this will never come back down. But it can. That's the point. They can come back down. They can go all the way back down to where they started from. They can, and we can see that on any Bitcoin pairing chart. I mean, these aren't old enough to really see. But let's look at FET, for example. This tells you how strong Bitcoin can be against an altcoin. Look at that. Imagine this. Imagine having Bitcoin here instead of FET. And look at this retracement. I mean, just look at that. FET was 50 cents up there, which meant that all you really needed to do was own Bitcoin, and you know, you'd generally be better off. 98 to almost 99% retracement in the form of a Bitcoin pairing. Now, obviously, I'm not looking for a 99% retracement. It's just an example of what can happen to altcoins. They can go down lower than you would ever imagine. Like I say, if you had the choice back down here to own FET or Bitcoin, it's very clear that you would rather have Bitcoin. And I'm not like a big Bitcoin fun boy or anything. I think Bitcoin's so boring. I love altcoins, but in order for me to use altcoins to their full potential, you've got to have a longer term plan, and like I say, expect the worst to happen to altcoins. And they're already, you know, the worst is already happening, but it could get a lot worse. Definitely not for all altcoins. I imagine the top caps will still be okay throughout this downtrend, generally speaking, but some of these small caps will be so wrecked. Anything that's gone up over 1,000 or more percent, expect it to do massive retracements. And if it doesn't, then great, but if it does, then brilliant. That's even better, because then we get back into those altcoins when we get the signals. We trade the signals. We don't trade expectations, or we don't trade fundamentals, really, or I don't trade any of that. I trade the signals, and you know, if you watch my YouTube and you've seen, you know, some of these trades that have been done over the last year or so, then they're all done on signals, and they've all been amazing. And this is what we're looking to do again, but there's no signals right now, so you can't do it. So we have to start from square one, which is either have a load of tether, wait for the market to settle, or just get into the Bitcoin positions and wait for the signals to become more apparent, and you flip those Bitcoins into altcoins and double them, triple them, or 10x them. But you're not going to be doing that anytime soon, I don't believe anyway. Why do I call Matic volatile? Well, I mean, because it is. It's crazy. How can you not call it volatile? It's volatile. Let's have a look at its volatility, shall we? Let's go to Tether, shall we? Have a look at that. I mean, that's volatile, isn't it? That's what I would call volatile. It's a weekly chart. So 1 week, well, let's just say we're down here. In 1 week we're up 148%. The next, we've got a candle body from the top to the bottom of 248%. That's what I call volatile. Let's have a look at this wick from this week alone, 35%. That's what I call volatile. Let's go to a 4-hourly chart to have a look at some more volatility, shall we? Alright, so a 4-hourly chart, we have from the top down to the bottom, 72% move, and from the bottom to the top is a 222%. That's pretty much the definition of volatility, I'm afraid. So yeah, Can you do one of your live streams on? Can you do one of your live streams on Saturdays? It is Saturday. I'm in Cali, and during work hours, you do the live streams. It would be nice if you could do that. Well, maybe. The thing is, I've been doing them Tuesdays and Fridays for such a long period of time. I don't want to rock the boat too much, but I appreciate your personal situation there. But maybe. Can you check Telos chart, please? It is an EOS.io sister chain that is listed on KuCoin. Oh, you missed the boat. If you ever want me to look at KuCoin charts, just let me know in advance, because otherwise I have to set all my indicators up, and it's just really boring for anybody else that's watching. So yeah, if you're a member of the Patreon, just send me a message on Patreon saying, can you look at this next time you do a live stream? I'll get it all set up and ready. So yeah. Unless the ticker's on, it's obviously not on Binance because you told me it's on KuCoin. Fet Army, right? Well, I mean, this is all part of the thing, isn't it? If you're into something for its fundamental value, and I like Fet, do you know what I mean? I like it. I think they're British as well, which makes it even better. And I hold a fair amount of it. I did a massive move on it, and I sold half of it, and the latter half of it obviously is still in profit. I bought around 5.5 cents, so I'm okay with that. I'm all right with it. But to become too emotionally attached to something, especially when I suppose the direction is specifically pointing to one, specifically saying I'm going down from here. It's up to you. I mean, I appreciate, and I'm not here to say that anyone else's trading style is any better or worse than mine. It's just for me, the majority of what I do, the vast majority of what I do, is based on charts, and so FET had a very strong buy signal. It also had a sell signal on it too, so I used both of those. But hi everyone, Dimitri from Bitsgap responded to my video. They will not develop a trading down feature for the moment. Oh dear. Well, fair enough. To be honest, I don't know why that seems to be such a problem. And I think that's one of the reasons why I favour the Pionex Infinity Bot for anything that's something I'm prepared to have for a long period of time. It accumulates your grid profit at a much slower rate, but it's much more of a chill. Do you know what I mean? It's a chiller vibe. You don't have to worry about it going out of range or whatever, or especially your grid's moving all the way up and then not going back down again. That's one thing that sets Pionex apart. There's two main things about Pionex which I like. I only ever use the Infinity Bot because if I'm going to use a grid bot, I'll use it with Bitsgap. Do you know what I mean? If there's a range I want to play, I'll use it with Bitsgap. But if there's something I just want to have for a long period of time, Infinity Bot sorted. Do you know what I mean? Infinity Bot is the way forward. And I've set up Pionex accounts up for all my nieces and nephews and all the little kids and my family and that, and I've basically set them up Infinity Bots instead of a savings account, or a building society. I thought, I'll set you up an Infinity Bot. You know what I mean? I've set up EOS Infinity Bots or XRP Infinity Bots for these little kids, and they will get them in they will get the keys, the passwords to their accounts in 12 or 16 years. And that Infinity Bot is going to do its thing for all that period of time. It doesn't care about the range. All it cares about is that if I've got if I've compensated for the lowest that could possibly go, between now and 16 years. And the other thing about Pionex, which is good, is the arbitrage bot, which only Pionex could do because they are an exchange, so they trade the funding rate difference, within themselves. So it's not like normal arbitrage trading where you basically send in money from one exchange to another, and you're exposed to the market for however long it would be. It's probably only minutes. It depends what you're trading, I suppose, to get a small difference in the difference between the exchanges and what they're trading. They're just doing the internal between spot and futures. So yeah, I mean those two things set Pionex apart. But if you're doing a normal grid bot, you should never really you never really want to have it on for a prolonged period of time. And usually what happens when I notice my grid bot breaking out, whether it's to the top or to the bottom, I pretty much close it, to be honest with you, because it destroys the fix that I've had on it in the first place. If it's not trading the range that I've mapped out that I want to be traded, even if it breaks out, I'll just close it because it's destroyed the range. The range is not relevant anymore, and the grid bot is not going to be doing its thing better than it. It's not going to be trading the grid area that I wanted it to be traded. So infinity bots are different. So like I say, slow burner, but so much less stress. Right, it's a shame they don't have it on Bitsgap. Yeah, well, like I say, I mean, yeah, I don't know what the problem is, to be honest. It must be harder to do than we imagine. I'm not a coder, so I couldn't say. Hey, what do I think about Ripple XRP? How does it look to you? Well, I don't know. I had a look. Let's have a little peep at Ripple. Let's have a look at that. We'll have a look at Tether first. This is the main deal, I would say, for XRP. There's two main things that we have to be aware of, which is the 200 exponential, which is usually where it ends up reaccumulating at around anyway. So I would be surprised to see it break down from here dramatically, even though it has done that in the past. But this is normally a good sign that there will be buying opportunities shortly. I'm not saying we're going to hold above here, but meandering above and below it is okay, and it'll probably be here for a little period of time. I'm not expecting a pop off or anything like that, unless of course they get adopted as the world currency or whatever it is that we're all expecting at some point. But again, this is a relatively simple chart to trade. We have a big move, we have a consolidation and a reaccumulation at the 200 exponential. Big move up, breakdown, reaccumulation, 200 exponential, big move up. And again, I've said it over and over, we will come down to here at some point, and then we'll have plenty of time to pick it up. Again, with the market being the way it is, we'll be below it, we'll be above it, we'll be below it, we'll be above it. This white line here is the is also an accumulation zone of its own right. So below here is all a giant accumulation since the parabolic high. We kind of since we broke down, basically all of this area has been reaccumulation, and being above there lends itself to a much bigger move, and I'm talking like much bigger. But for the moment, it's time to reaccumulate, and you could buy blindly on the 200 exponential, and you'd be rewarded over time. But I would expect to see us come down and above it and down and above it. At the moment, the market is not it's not. There's no signals on anything right now. To say this is it, this is the one, this is the time to buy right now. What am I doing writing that in? XRP is one of my favourites, you know what I mean? And it's nice to see a chart play out the way I expected it to, from a long time back when it was not fashionable. It was never fashionable, but when it starts pumping, everybody wants a piece, and then when it breaks down again, it's a scam. It's a scam. Get out of it. You're an idiot for buying it. What are you thinking, you stupid idiot? But actually, it's a very nice chart, and it has been since a long time ago, before the uptrends began. And this is why I started making videos on it. Anyway, that's that. I don't need to talk any more about that. On the daily here, golden cross still diverging, and if we do break down any further, we get caught around here, which could easily happen. And this might be the bottoming zone, and this is why we like to look at things on Bitcoin pairing at the moment. So down to just short of just above 1900 sats, 2000 sats. So a further 20% drop possible versus Bitcoin. So that could be a 30% drop on Tether. That could be the bottom. And that's where we would maybe think about maybe even doing an infinity bot. This could be the opportunity of a lifetime. Infinity bot. Set one up for your kids. Leave it for a decade. But yeah, for the moment, this is the other thing I was thinking about. And again, this is a weekly, so it's going to take a while to play out, and this will be one of those signals that we're waiting for, but we don't have. We want to see this portion of the cloud go green. We want to see our price action above the cloud. We want to see this Chiku span above the cloud. And this, again, on a weekly, especially when we're talking about the Chiku span, we need to get above the cloud. We need to be above quite high, really, to get above 2,800 sats to get the buy signal on sats, and then we should start going up pretty rapidly, doing one of those another one of those explosive moves. But if you want to catch the knife, I would catch it on sats, and I would catch it at the 200 exponential and hope for the best. Other than that, there's no buy signals on this one. It's a wait and see kind of vibe. But I like it. Do you know what I mean? I made a prediction, a bold prediction about 18 months ago, when we were in the original accumulation, about 17 cents. I said, look, I'm pretty sure that when this one goes, it'll make a new all-time high between $4 and $6, and I stand by that. And I think I also had a top target of about $14. Can't really remember, but I mean, that's not anything you'd want to hold out for. You want to scale out of XRP at $4 bit by bit, doing the standard scaling out tactic that I show, where you do 25% with each hole mark, 25% at 4, 25% at 6, and then let the rest sort of ride at every single peak, Right, where else? What are we up to now? So we're getting through it. I suppose we're getting towards the end of the stream, really. I'm skipping around all over the place, aren't I? Where was the XRP thing? I'm missing out on all these things. What's going on? Where is everything? Can I look at Strax? Yeah. Again, we'll check with Bitcoin, because this is where we're going to get. Well, so that doesn't look very nice, I have to say. It's looking pretty crappy there. It's not a very old chart as well, so it doesn't lend itself to anything tangible to hold on to. Death cross here as well. Rejection on the 200 exponentials. Pretty weak, I'd say, against Bitcoin. So I'm not a fan of this one at all. So yeah, I wouldn't fancy trading this one. It's breaking down now, and because it's a new coin, we don't have much history to go by. And again, I always say this, new coins, they're good. They can be good, but like anything immature, you can't trust it, and yeah, it's breaking down now, I think, so I don't fancy it. There's no moving averages below us, and it looks like this was one of those coins which could end up being potentially extremely wrecked if Bitcoin goes up or Bitcoin goes down. Spent all my Bitcoin on alts. Well, I hope it works out for you. Like I say, I'm not here to make anyone scared. It's just my my plan is very particular and specific, and it's based upon mostly risk to reward. So there, like I say, it depends on your alt, and like I say, there's some alts will explode tomorrow, and they might be yours. Now, I understand your goal, but how will you actually accumulate Bitcoin going forward? Is this all about the bots? No. So for the last, probably maybe the last couple of months, when we were reaching these sort of top areas, not so much, I suppose, for Bitcoin, but it does coincide with Bitcoin, but it was when we were coming down to these levels on Bitcoin dominance. I was saying that I'm going to I'm going to take profit on a lot of the alts that I was in. I was taking profit into Bitcoin and into Tether, because as far as I was concerned, some of these alts were looking quite toppy. Yeah, they were looking pretty toppy. They were reaching my targets, or at least my first or second or third levels of targets. Yeah, so I was taking half into Bitcoin and half into Tether, and when I do that, I don't just spend the Tether straight away. I wait for the opportunity to spend the Tether, whether that's a trade setup or what. And then obviously, as we started breaking down, in the market, it was nice to see my Bitcoin. Well, it wasn't nice to see it go down, but it was nice to see that altcoins broke down harder than Bitcoin, which made me feel a little bit clever in the way that I'd gone into altcoin into Bitcoin, but I've still got plenty of Tether. And so then what I've been doing is on Bitcoin, I was saying, right, each one of these I've had these levels in for a while. Okay, so we were breaking down. So the first opportunity is all based on the weekly. I say the first opportunity for a buyback after this breakdown is going to be the 20 weekly. Okay, so I bought some Bitcoin here around 48,000. That broke down. Okay, so the next major level is going to be around 38,000. And I bought quite a lot there. Okay, that broke down. I had some around the 50 exponential moving average at 33, and I think that might be my last buy. I might have had some at 31. I can't remember. This is how I've been accumulating the Bitcoin on the way down with the Tether that I have been taking profit of, for the last 6 to 8 weeks. And and I've still got some tether left. Like I say, I'm never all in, I'm never all out. There will always be more tether, and there will be tether for, you know, indefinitely. I'll always have some tether. Always have some tether. It's always been my thing. And if you've been watching my live streams, you know, over the last, like I say, 4 to 6 or maybe even longer, I've been saying I've been taking more profit than I have done at any point. Just yeah, it's not that I expected a massive market correction, but I kind of had a feeling that there might be at least some downtrending at some point, and it's worked out. So accumulating Bitcoin for me is all about buy orders, and this is what I'm saying. If you don't have your tether and you still want to accumulate, then it's about dollar cost averaging at levels of support. So for me, obviously bought some here, bought the dip, wrecked. Bought some here, bought the dip, wrecked. Bought some here, bought the dip, I suppose wrecked, and not you know, a little bit up now. If this goes down, which I expect it would be, buy some here, bought the dip, potentially wrecked. Accumulation of Bitcoin is the aim of the game, even if I get wrecked on every occasion, you know. And then when we bottom out, put those into bots. And if there is, you know, good setups available, and if there's not, I hold on to that Bitcoin until the setups are available and I flip it. It's just a tool. It's a means to an end. It's just a means to an end, and that's how I'll accumulate Bitcoin with the tether that I've got. I'm not buying anything out. I'm not putting any more fiat into Bitcoin. I've not done that in a very long time, to be honest. And I won't. I don't really feel any need to. You know, I trade it. If anything, I take it out into fiat occasionally. You know, maybe like once a month I'll take some out. You know, this is essentially, you know, it's not my absolute job, but it is my largest form of income. But it's done very casually. Do you know what I mean? Very, very casually. I'm not like sitting at my computer all day, you know, day trading. There's really no need. There's no need to do that. Like I say, it's very casual in the way I'm doing it, and it all starts with a plan. And at the moment, I'm buying these dips, and I'm getting wrecked on every occasion. But that's only wrecked at the moment. It might, you know, like I say, I'm very casual in the way that this is all going to play out, and I always look at things on dailies and weeklies. You will rarely see me go down to a 4-hourly. It's only now where I'm starting to do that, because we're splitting hairs. We're trying to work out where the bottom is, and 4-hourlies will give us a clue. But generally, you've watched my channel, you've watched my live streams. I look at dailies and weeklies. That means that you know, whatever really does happen on a daily is no big deal. Weeklies are the ones that really give the bigger picture and the bigger moves, and they're the ones that I like to trade. And that's why I'm saying build upon a Bitcoin base now, and don't really care. I don't really particularly care about the price of Bitcoin. It's just about getting the Bitcoin to which I will flip in the long run. But like I say, you understand my goal. I repeat it all the time. That's my strategy right now, is to build upon the Bitcoin and then flip that Bitcoin into altcoins, maybe in a couple of months, you know, when the time is right. Could you do a tutorial on infinity bots? Well, I mean, yeah, I suppose I'll make a video on it, but it's pretty simple stuff. You get yourself a fix on a chart based upon its Bitcoin pairing, usually, unless you want to trade Tether. And if you're absolutely adamant that it's not going to come down to a low level, like let's just say I've set some of these bots up for my nieces and nephews. So I did one I did an EOS bot, an EOS to Tether bot. As one of my little niece, she's got that, and I set that up when EOS was about $4.50, and I put the lowest grid down at $2. Right, so it might come down to $2 again. Probably won't, but it might. But it probably won't, and that's it. I set the infinity bot up. The only thing I need to care about is the lowest level that I think it'll come down to. Because obviously if it breaks down lower than that, the bot doesn't work anymore until it gets above that level. Set the bot up, leave it to do it. It asks me how many percent would it like to make a buy or a sell, whether it's 0.5%, 1%, 10%, whatever, and you put it in, and then it just trades passively through, indefinitely for you. And I looked at my niece's bot the other day because I was around her, and I was speaking to her mum, and I was like, just out of interest, can I have a look at that bot? And it's in profit, untouchable profit now. That was set up about maybe 3 months ago, And EOS went all the way up, all the way down, all the way up, all the way down. That's why I liked that one. That's why it suited a bot. And yeah, she's doubled her money in the form of Tether from the original investment. That's in Tether. It can't be. That's untouchable. That's banked. That's banked money. That's there. It can't be touched. So the original $300 that I put in for her bot, the grid profit alone it was over $600. So the investment is still running. Plus banked on the side is Tether, and like I say, she's only 7 now. She'll get that when she's 18. God knows what it'll be, even with that simple $300 investment. So like I say, it's like a cheeky little it's like a savings account for her. Do you know what I mean? And I think what I'll do is every now and then I'll just say to her, when the market tanks, which it will do one day, I'll just say, right, now's the time to set up another bot, shall we? Let's set another bot up. Let's set another bot up for her with the with the remaining Tether that's been profited, whether it's 2, 4, 5 years down the line. There'll always be a time when something reaches its bottom, and then I'll set it up again. Anyway, that's that. Thank you, you to read my comment. I'm sorry if I'm missing out people's comments here. It's I am dyslexic and I'm very, very tired. Can you right? Thoughts on Uni to USDT? Might this also get wrecked in the near months? Well, like I say, expect altcoins to be wrecked beyond all recognition. So this looks like it's come down a fair whack already. So get off the 4 hourly, back to the daily. So it's a make or break moment for a lot of these coins coming down to this level now. And again, we always favour a bounce at the 200 exponential. We always favour one. So being above it offers the opportunity for a bounce. But this here is a short signal from here. Whether that's played out or not, I couldn't say. That's an Itchy Cloud short signal. That, not just shorting, but this tells you when the trend has likely ended for a downtrend, and that would be when this Chiku span touches this price action, or when this blue crosses this red and makes an opposing cross. That means that this downtrend is over. So at the moment, what we're looking at here is a downtrend in play. So I would probably say that this is likely to break down, probably based upon this setup, which is the setup that we use in bullish forms all the time. We always look at, Chiku span, above price action, blah blah blah. This is the complete inverse of that, but the signal works in exactly the same way. If we have a setup like this, it means that the downtrend is in play until this touches price action, this little skinny Chiku span here, or the blue crosses the red, and then it's saying, okay, now it's time to get out of your short position. Doesn't mean it's time to buy, it just means that this current downtrend is over. We might enter a new downtrend, but this downtrend is still in play that we're looking at right now. So I'm not, like I say, I'm not a fan of it, given what I see there. But it could have bottomed out, but the trend as far as that is concerned is still in play until told otherwise. So sorry about that, but like I say, I'm not I don't have a crystal ball. This is just based on TA alone, and until Bitcoin bottoms out officially, alts will continue to go down with every step that Bitcoin takes, and Bitcoin may have already bottomed out. We don't know yet. We've got no confirmation. So the WTC, what is this stuff? This one looks weaker than most, so it's already below that 200 exponentials, and again it's got the same short setups that we just saw on Uni. So I'm not there's nothing about this that I'm a fan of. Where do we bottom here? I suppose around this zone really, but yeah, I'm not a fan on this one at all either. This is just going to show what alts are capable of. Already from the top down to that wick, there's an 82% retracement. Expect and plan for the worst with alts. Again, I love alts. I'm always on the alts. I've been trading the alts. I love the alts, and the alts will do the business when the time is right. And to get a retracement of 80%, which may even go to 90% or 95%, offers opportunity down at those levels. But at the moment, there's no opportunity in that, and that is just one example of something that could get worse, and all other altcoins could look like that too. I know it's hard to picture it if you've never been around altcoins getting trashed, But historically, that's what happens to altcoins. They get trashed, and some of them never come back. EOS to BTC. Let's have a peep at that. I love EOS, I can tell you that. I do love EOS, but I'm not particularly enjoying it right now. But again, I'm not saying I sold the top with everything. I did my 25% out at about $13.50, which I'm happy about, because that means my original investment is secure, plus the same amount back in profit, so doubled my money while leaving the rest to ride, which is always going to be the case for that trade. That trade was a very simple trade, and that was my first opportunity to get out, and I got out pretty close to the top. So TA works. Do you know what I mean? It does work. It does work. The only thing I wish I had done is taken a little bit more, but again, that would also be me stepping back from my original strategy, which is the important thing. Don't deviate from the plan. The plan for me for EOS is very clear. Buy low, sell high. I took my profit out, took my original investment out, plus doubled the investment, and the rest is riding, and let it do its thing. It will reach $20 more dollars. I know it will. It definitely will, based upon technical analysis on the long term, on the weeklies, time frames. So this also goes hand in hand with that kind of analysis in a way, but it's looking pretty weak right now. So we got our golden cross. We're above the 200 exponential. We actually had a very nice bounce, but again, we're below the center of this Bollinger Band on the daily, so I'm not particularly in favor of anything happening anytime soon. I appreciate that there's some fundamental developments taking place, the exchange and things that could change the game, but yeah, and if you look at the weekly's not that bad as far as it's the way that it's set up here. We're above the center of the Bollinger Band quite significantly, so we're not in bear market territory by any means at all. I like it because it's a good diversifier, and people like to slag it off, which only makes me like it more, because I always favour an underdog. We've got a cross here, which is nothing to write home about, but it is a cross all the same. We're below the cloud, so it's again nothing to write home about, so it's, not particularly exciting or anything like that. A situation like this isn't bullish, but it's not bear market bearish, so it's going to have strength versus I suppose other altcoins, which are all the ones that have ran up massive amounts, gone 1,000, 10,000%. EOS is going to have strength compared to them, but it's not particularly bullish right now. And Tether really had it. When you look at the Tether chart, it makes more sense. And we'll just have a quick look at that, considering you've given a donation, which I'm very pleased at. So thank you for that, mate. But I do make videos on EOS, and every single one of them I stand by, and they all work out. They've all worked out so far, so good. So let's have a look on the weekly. This is what's having it. So I'm not going to get bullish on EOS until it breaks above $7.20. That's when it's going to lend itself to another big move. We need to reclaim $7.20, because the way that this has worked in the past is move up, resistance, break down, move up, resistance, break down to previous resistance is support, big move up. This was the sell zone. Big breakdown. I was expecting it to hold up here, but it didn't, because the market tanked. So it tanked with the market. We still have our buy signal from back down here on the weekly, suggesting that this is still in play. This uptrend is still in play. Surprisingly, I know it sounds bizarre, but but it is still in play. And we sliced through the price action just very briefly to give an idea of support. And we are above that at the moment on the weekly. So again, I'm not a massive bull on this until we break above $7.20. That's when it will have some power back in it. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. But overall, on the weekly, the original plan is still in play. Buy down here, allow for this to play out big time to overall, the previous all-time high is about $23. I think it'll hit there and probably go past there as well. But it's going to take the best part of the year. Again, this is what I say about my trades. They're all very relaxing and calm and chilled out and pre-planned, and you stick to the discipline, stick to the plan, and you don't need to worry. You know what I mean? There's no need to stress and panic and worry about what's going on, even in dailies and sometimes even weeklies. Do you know what I mean? Because it takes a whole week for one of these candles to go green and go red. Again, I'm more in favour of a weekly chart than any other chart. And for me, this chart is doing its thing. It's still holding on to that buy signal. It's still okay. It's still, for the moment, holding above about, you know, this general trajectory of where the support should be. It was massively oversold. This is how it works. We do big moves up, big moves down, big moves up, big moves down, big moves up. And I've said this is going to have a big move down. I thought it would hold here. It didn't, but I'm still not worried about it. But again, yeah, I can afford to not be worried about it because I bought in down here, and this is what I'm saying about altcoins right now. If they tank, if they crash, if they die, it's good in a way. It's good because if we're holding on to Bitcoin and all we care about is flipping those Bitcoins and multiplying the amount of Bitcoin that we own, this is how we do it. We look at the charts that give very clear signals. You know, consolidation, ending, accumulation, buying, move up, buy signal confirmed. You know, this is what we look for, and this is how we do it. And this is what my strategy is right now. It feels like going back to square one, but it's just a new strategy that lends itself to this stage in the market. Anyway, I am going to hold it there. I'm going to leave it there. My voice is going. I'm very tired, like I say. Yeah, referral code. There should be one in my in the comment in the description of the channel of this video. Probably even there should be. I've got all the referral codes in there for everything. There should be a Pinex one. If not, I'll leave it in the comments of this video. Anyway. Yeah, I'll just do that anyway, just to get it in there. I'll send it through to you. If you use my referral code for Pinex, the only thing it gives you is a 50% reduction on your trading fees for a month. That's all that's all that it offers. It's not like my Binance one where you get 20% off for life or anything like that. So it's just a 50% reduction on trading fees for a month, and then just goes back to just normal. But I really appreciate it if you do use it. I'm very grateful. Anyone who uses my referral codes, I am very grateful for you to do that. There's no reason for you to do it other than just being nice to me. Most of my referral codes do offer things back to you anyway, but unfortunately Pinex, the 50% off trading fees only lasts for a 30-day period or something. Anyway, thanks for watching again, guys, and I'll see you all on Tuesday. And like I say, I'm around now, so you'll see me in the Telegram a bit more often. But yeah, hope you have a nice day, or evening, or night, whatever time of day, or whatever it is for you guys. And yeah, take it easy, and have a good one.